Hi guys, and I'm Rich Critic here. And today, we're going to review and talk about Banjo-Kazooie. So Banjo-Kazooie is a 3D platformer that was from the N64, and it was published by Nintendo and developed by Rareware. And it was one of Rareware's first 3D platformers on the N64. And after following the success of Super Mario 64, Nintendo wanted Rareware to make their own open-world 3D platformer. Nintendo wanted Rareware to succeed too, and with its new 3D platformers following the success of Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie was a game that was out on the N64 in 1998, and it was a success, and it had successful ratings, and it did good in the box office. Banjo-Kazooie was very similar to open-world 3D platformers, just like Super Mario 64, and in fact Banjo-Kazooie is so similar to Super Mario 64, and Banjo-Kazooie even has an open hub world, just like Super Mario 64 has an open hub world to go to and to go around to. So guys, let's see if this Banjo-Kazooie game is still worth playing, and let's see if this Banjo-Kazooie game still holds up as a game, and let's find out, and let's see for ourselves. So Banjo-Kazooie is a 3D platformer that was from the N64, and it was published by Nintendo and developed by Rareware. It was one of Rareware's first 3D platformers on the N64, and after following the success of Super Mario 64, Nintendo wanted Rareware to make their own open-world platformer. Nintendo wanted Rareware to succeed too, and with its new 3D platformers following the success of Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie was a game that was out on the N64 in 1998, and it was a success, and it had successful ratings, and it did good in the box office, and it did good in sales, and has similar sales and similar worlds to GOAT, and it did good in the market, and it did good in sales. It was good in the market, had really good market, it was really good in the market, and it had good sales, and it did well in sales, and you go to open worlds, and you go around to open worlds, and you go around to similar, like, open worlds in these games. Banjo-Kazooie was very similar to other open world 3D platformers, just like Super Mario 64, and in fact, Banjo-Kazooie is so similar to Super Mario 4 that it literally has the same open hub world, just like Super Mario 64, where it also has a hub world to explore too, and it even has similar open worlds and open worlds to go to. Banjo-Kazooie is also like a 3D platformer that is a open world game, and Banjo-Kazooie even has a open hub world, just like Super Mario 64 has a open hub world too, just like Super Mario 64 has an open hub world too, and go around to, and to go around to. And Banjo-Kazooie is pretty much a very similar open world game, and it's a good open world. And Banjo-Kazooie is also a 3D platformer that is an open world game, and it is just like a open world game. So I like how in the opening of the game of Banjo-Kazooie, it opens up well with Banjo playing, well, the banjo, and Kazooie playing the kazoo. Hence the title Banjo-Kazooie, get it? And that's why it's called Banjo-Kazooie. And it gets funny, Tooty doing the toot, and it's just a zany, fun song, and it's just a catchy opening theme song. And then you see, like, Mumbo showing off with his instruments. Like, you see Mumbo do the piano drums, and then you see do his violin, and then Banjo gets jealous and shows off his banjo, and I just like how Banjo thinks Mumbo's a show-off, and Banjo's like, well, let me show you. It's just funny and catchy, and I just like how this whole intro, it shows you that this is going to be like a witty, zany, funny, cool, creative game. And all around, I just love it. It's just cool, it shows characters, and all around, and I just like it how, and it pretty much shows you that this is going to be a zany, witty, fun adventure game. And I just like it how kind of like creative it is, how cool it looks. I just like the style of it. I just like how catchy it is, the song. And that's my thoughts on the opening theme of the game. And that's my thoughts on the opening intro of the game. So the story of the game is where a bear called Banjo and a bird called Kazooie, and Banjo's sister Tooty gets kidnapped by a witch called Gruntilda, or Grunty as we call her. And why does Grunty the witch kidnap Tooty? Well, that's because Grunty was reading a fortune of her talking cauldron by asking who was the prettiest of the land, or most beautiful of the land, and it reveals that Tooty is the most beautiful or prettiest of the land, as she asked to her talking pot. Angry by this because Grunty herself thinks that she's beautiful, but she's not, and she finds out that she's not, and that Grunty is jealous of Tooty's beauty, and that's why she wants to kidnap Tooty, and that's also why she uses this machine to turn Tooty ugly and turn Tooty into a monster, and so she can use this machine to turn herself more pretty and more beautiful, and she wants to use this machine to, like, transfer her body, or suck suck out the beauty, or I don't know, it's like this mutation switch machine that changes beauty and attractiveness. So then Banjo and Kazooie realize and find out that Tooty was kidnapped by Grunty, by Gruntilda, the witch. And so then Banjo and Kazooie explores Grunty's lair and goes on a search and rescue mission to save Tooty. And Banjo and Kazooie are a buddy duo who will go on a fun adventure and go to really good worlds to explore to. Oh, and Grunty also has a assistant called Klungo, and he's this lab assistant, and Klungo is like this crocodile lizard thingy. Like, I don't know what, well, whatever he is. So Klungo, I guess, is this crocodile lizard lab assistant, and he is Grunty's assistant, and Klungo is Grunty's henchman, and he is Grunty's right-hand man. So he helps Grunty a lot, and he is there to help out her evil schemes. So that's what Klungo does. He does experiments and tests out machines. So when you go to Grunty's lair, it's like going into Peach's castle, and Peach's castle is a hub world, and well, Grunty's lair is a hub world. So when you go into Grunty's lair, it's basically a hub world, similar to when you go inside Peach's castle. So you go inside to explore worlds like Mumbo's Mountain, Pirate Treasure Cove, and many more, and you stumble across all kinds of characters along the way. So you go around inside worlds to explore to, and you basically try to go to these open worlds and see all these characters and meet all these people along the way, and across your journey, and you basically go through open worlds to go to. Now, one of your friends is Bottles, and so Bottles is a mole that helps you in the game. Bottles is basically the guy that gives you advice on the locations to go to, and I think Bottles gives you moves, and he helps you with your skills, and he kind of tells you the instructions of how to do these moves, and he basically tells you how to control your moves, and he gives you advice towards your moves. And also there's your other friend Mumbo, and Mumbo is a shaman. He is a shaman that turns you into different kinds of creatures, and he turns you into animals, and Mumbo helps you in the game, and so you can get the Jiggies in the game. And he uses his magic to turn you into a certain creature for the Jiggy you need to get. And who cannot love Mumbo? I love Mumbo, okay? Like, I mean, who cannot? I mean, like, God, who cannot? And he's a badass in my view. And he's a total badass, really. And he's one of my favorite video game characters. And he's one of my favorite characters of all in Banjo-Kazooie. So, now you do have to collect these Jiggies in the game. And what are Jiggies? Well, they're basically these puzzle pieces that unlock the next world for you. And Jiggies are basically like the stars you collect in Super Mario 64 when you have to use the stars to unlock the next world, really. And yes, Jiggies are puzzles you collect in the game to unlock the next world for you. And that's what Jiggies are for. And that's how the Jiggies are similar in Super Mario 64 in that example. And that's what the Jiggies are used for, and that's why you need to get the Jiggies in the game. You also collect Jingos, who are these creatures in these species that are imprisoned in Grunty's lair. And once you collect them, you're actually saving them. You're actually freeing them. And so that's what Jingos are, and that's what species they are, and that's what you do with them. Pretty much what you have to do to save them in the game. And you have to find them all over in Grunty's lair, in the worlds themselves, and they're around the worlds you go to. You also collect honeycombs, and when you collect them all, you get more health points of your health bar, and it basically upgrades your health bar. They basically give you more health, and after you collect them, they boost up your health, and they're scattered all over the worlds, and you have to find them in all over Grunty's lair, and you have to find them all over the worlds you go to. You also collect Mumbo tokens, and they are used to unlock to get into Mumbo's tent, into Mumbo's house, and is used to unlock Mumbo's magic. So when you collect the notes, they are used to unlock the note door, and when you get the ultimate note door, it's used to get better skills and health. And they are scattered through each world, and you have to collect all of them to get the notes. And they're like musical notes, and they are golden notes. Golden musical notes are used to help you, and it gives you better moves. They're kind of used to support your game, and they're kind of used to, like, upgrade your health. You also have many moves for you that you have. For example, you use Kazooie to poke, and you use Kazooie to like peck at things, and you both fly in the game, and you and your bird try to fly in the game. You also have many moves in the game. You also have many moves where you jump, and you hit, and you use Banjo to punch at things, and you use Banjo to hop in the game, and you even try to squirt water in the game by using Kazooie. And Kazooie can also squirt water out of his ass, literally. And wow, out of his ass, yikes. And you also have Banjo double jumping in the game, and hopping, and you also can have Banjo duck and hide, and even climb, and you both can even run up mountains, and it's a move where both of you can try to run up a mountain by using Kazooie's bird legs, and that was Banjo's moves and Kazooie's moves, and that's my thoughts on Banjo's and Kazooie's moves. You also help out this character called Captain Blubber, and Captain Blubber is a hippo, and he's like this pirate hippo, I think, but he's a good pirate hippo.
Yeah, he's a cool, fun character. He does appear in later games. He actually helps you out, and he's actually a really cool character that I like. You first see him in a game where he's depressed. So he's depressed because he doesn't have his gold, but then after you find his gold for him and you get a Jiggy from him, he actually helps you out. He's in good spirits, and he's actually a really funny character, and he actually has also become another main character, another popular character, another well-known character in the games. Grunty also has a sister in the game called Brentilda, and Brentilda is actually a fairy, and she helps you in the game, and she also is there to assist you in the game to defeat Grunty, and she'll be there to give you advice to help you beat Grunty. And Brentilda is a fairy godmother, and she is there to help you with your moves and gives you advice. Now, Brentilda's scattered around Grunty's lair, and she's just there. She hides around various points around Grunty's lair, and she's in the game to help you out, and she's just there in the game. You also fight a lot of enemies in the game, and the enemies in the game look very interesting. And they're good enemies to fight in the game, and there's good enemies to fight in the game. And I think the enemies of the game are unique. And I think the enemies of the game are unique and cool to look at and fight really. And they're really cool to attack and punch at really. And I think it's really cool. I think it's kind of cool to fight. To really kind of fight them in the game. And so also there's a alternative ending in the game if you die. And it happens when you die. And the alternative ending is where Grunty is successful in transforming herself into a skinny woman and kind of a model now. Like in other words, she's more pretty now and maybe hot and attractive and more nice looking now. And Tooty is turned into an ugly monster and she's this green creature and boy oh boy, we don't want that to happen to her, do we? And so that motivates the player to keep playing and to continue on. And that was the alternative ending of the game. The game was composed by Grant Kirkhope, and Grant Kirkhope is awesome. Like, Grant Kirkhope has done the music for this game, and it's amazing. Now, Grant Kirkhope has done the music for Banjo-Kazooie, and it sounds awesome to listen to. I really love the music of this game. It's one of my favorite soundtracks. Grant Kirkhope has also done the soundtrack for other Rare games. Grant Kirkhope is known for doing the music for Banjo-Kazooie, and Grant Kirkhope has done it to compose other music for other Rare games, and that's really cool to know. And the music of this game is amazing. It's really cool. He's done my favorite musics of all time, and he's my favorite composer. And it's my favorite music of this game of all time for Banjo-Kazooie. And this is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, really, in a Banjo-Kazooie game, and I give it all to Grant Kirkhope, who composed the music of this game, and it sounds phenomenal, and I really love it a lot, and it just sounds fantastic, and I really just love it a lot. And that's my thoughts on the music of the game. So there's a character called Goby the Camel, and Goby the Camel is just a fucking asshole, in my view. And Goby the Camel is a fucking asshole. And you first see him in Goby's Valley. Get it? Yeah, hence the title, Goby's Valley. So yes, you do first see him in Goby's Valley, and you first see him where he's chained to a rock. Then you kind of like destroy and break the rock. And then you kind of smash the rock, and then you kind of break the chain from him. And then you get a Jiggy from Goby. And he's also again later in Goby's Valley. And later in Goby's Valley, where he's stealing the water of what's left of the valley. I mean, like, people need that water in that valley, you know. You see why people don't like Goby? And he's like holding the water up hostage. And this tree, and this talking tree needs his water. Like, this talking tree needs his water to breathe, you know. I mean, God, this is... So then you jump on his hump back, and it makes Goby squirt water out of his mouth, and it squirts water in the tree, and the tree has water now, and he's refreshed, and he breathes, and the tree gives you a Jiggy, of course. But then Goby decides that he's fed up with you, and then he just goes to the next world. Then Goby just, like, goes to, like, the Click-Clock Wood world. Now, I mean, come on, these people need that water. He's holding up people hostage over their water, you know? Oh my God. But you see why Goby the Camel is an asshole? So... Oh boy. And then later, Goby is in front of a pyramid, and then he kind of smashes on top of his hump again, and then he kind of spits out a honeycomb, then you get a honeycomb from him, and then he really goes to the next world after that. Now, there's a giant plant that you get a Jiggy from. So, Goby the Camel is in summer-autumn in the Click-Clock Wood world, and he's in, like, I think the fall level, too. And this really gets funny. And Goby the Camel has still water in his mouth, he's holding up water, and then you jump on his hump, and he smashes on the back of his hump, and he squirts water out of his mouth. And then the plant grows. And after the giant plant grows, you get a Jiggy from it, finally. So Goby the Camel decides he's just fed up with... So he just goes away and leaves. And this is the last time you see him in this game. And he just runs off and goes away. Now, Goby the Camel also appears in Banjo-Tooie. And in Banjo-Tooie, he's in the lava world and he grows a beard for some reason. And what's funny is the reason why Goby the Camel has a beard is because, well, it's just for narcissistic reasons. And it's also because he also wants to get attention. Oh, God. Jesus Christ, this guy. And Goby the Camel is in the lava world for some reason. That's That's where you see him in that game. And, well, I'll just leave it as that, but God. And then I'm like, God, you can see why people hate this character? So I'm like, God, what an asshole. So let's just move on. I'll just leave it as... So that's my thoughts on Gobi the Camel. And you can see why I think Gobi the Camel is a piece of shit. So I do like the worlds of the game, like Mumbo's Mountain and Treasure Trove Cove, and I do like Gobi's Valley, the Desert World, Freezy Peak, the Snow World, Clinker's Cavern. Clinker's Cavern is okay, and he's like a talking metal shark, and he's Grunty's garbage disposal, and Clinker, Clinker the shark he's called. He lives there, he eats Grunty's garbage to do certain challenges in there and kind of help him out, and to get jiggies from him. Bubble Gloop Swamp is like, well, a swamp forest world. Rusky Bucket Bay, we're in like a ship, an abandoned ship. It's a bay area, it's a shipping area. Docks area, which I think it's okay. Man Monster Mansion, which is like a haunted mansion in the horror world, which I really like. Click Clock Wood, which is like a 4 seasonal level world where it's just where all seasons go by. That's kind of cool. So, okay, this is my top 5 or my top 6. Okay, so number 6 is Gobi's Valley because I just like deserts and sand. Gobi's Valley is kind of cool. Number 5 is Freezy Peak, which is like a cool snow world and fight snow monsters, which is cool. And number 4 is Click Clock Wood. It's a cool seasonal level. Number 3 is Mumbo's Mountain. I do like Mumbo's Mountain. I don't know. I just like it a lot. Number 2 is Treasure Trove Cove because I don't know. I just like it a lot. Treasure Trove Cove is like the sand pirate level. And number 1 is Man Monster Mansion, which is like a horror world. And Man Monster Mansion is like a horror world of the game, and that's really cool. I don't know. It's my favorite. I like it a lot. That's my thoughts on the worlds of the game. And you do fight snow monsters in it. So I do like the snowman enemies, and the snowman enemies throw snowballs at you. You gotta watch out and be careful. You gotta like fly up and then hit their hats. And that's kind of how you beat them, and that's how you kill them off. I do like when you fight the snow enemies, throw snowballs at you, and I don't know, it's just really cool that the snow enemies throw snowballs at you, and it's really cool. And that's the snowman enemies. So Boggy the polar bear. And Mr. Boggy, or Boggy the polar bear, is a polar bear that has 3 kids and a bitchy wife. But he's a family man, Boggy the polar bear. Get a race with him by using a snowboard. And that was Boggy the polar bear. And then he turns to a walrus to race him. Well, you have to be a walrus to race him. And then after you beat Boggy, you get a jiggy from Boggy. And that's how you get the jiggy from him. And that was the worlds of the game, and that was my thoughts on the worlds of the game. So now, on to the bosses of the game. And the first boss of the game is Conga the Ape. And Conga the Ape, and he's this gorilla you have to fight. And he throws oranges at you, and you have to make sure you don't get hit by the oranges or peaches or whatever. And whatever he's throwing at you, make sure you don't get hit by them. And then you have to shoot water at the gorilla. And you have to shoot water at a high angle at him, and then shoot at him, and then Conga then gets defeated and destroyed. And then you beat Conga. The second boss of the game is called Snipper. Snipper is a crab in a shell, and he tries to pinch you, and make sure you don't get pinched by him. And you then have to hit his eyeballs, and you beat him by hitting his eyeballs. And then Snipper gets defeated and destroyed. And then you beat Snipper, like a bitch that he is. The third boss is called Black Snippet. And Black Snippet is this black crab you fight, and he's this little mini boss you fight. And then you hop on him, and you have to hit him, and that's kind of how you beat him. And then Black Snippet gets defeated and destroyed, and then you beat Black Snippet. The fourth boss is called Muty Snippet, and Muty Snippet is a bunch of green mutant crabs, and he's called that because he's a mutated green crabs, and there are many crabs that get you, and there are many crabs that attack you, and they're also a mini boss in the game, and you have to jump on them, and dodge them, and hit them, and then punch them. And that's kind of how you try to beat them. And then Muty Snippet gets defeated and destroyed, and then you beat Muty Snippet. The fifth boss is called Yellow Flibbits. And yellow flibbits are these frogs you have to fight. And they're these frogs that jump on you. And you have to stop the frogs. And then you have to peck the frogs. And you have to use Kazooie to peck at them. And that's how you beat them. And then the yellow flibbits then gets defeated and destroyed. And then you beat the yellow flibbits. The sixth boss is called Boss Boombox, and Boss Boombox is a giant box, and he's a giant box, and he's the leader of the box enemies, and he explodes and throws bombs at you, and he tries to explode in front of you so you can get damage, and he tries to throw bombs at you, and TNT at you, and then you have to use Banjo to hit him, and strike at him, and punch his weakest point, and then you have to jump on him and hit him. And then you gotta use Banjo to like punch him, you gotta use Banjo to hit him. And then Boss Boombox explodes and goes kaboom this time. And I think he dies this time, and yes, I think he's dead this time. And then Boss Boombox, then he gets defeated and destroyed. And then you beat Boss Boombox, bitch. The seventh boss is called the Zubas, and the Zubas are these bee enemies that you fight. And they're evil bees you have to fight, and you have to stop them, and you have to hit them, and then you strike at them, and then you try to attack them. And then the Zubas gets defeated and destroyed, and then you beat the Zubas, and that was all the bosses of the game. So I do like the bosses of the game. I think the bosses of the game are great. So you then unlock the final level of the game, and it's a game show, and you have to survive Grunty's quiz show. So you have to make sure you pass Grunty's quiz show, and Grunty's quiz is hard, and you have to make sure you know everything of the game show. And it's a game show about the game, and it's like a game of the trivia of the game. And so you gotta know a lot of the trivia of the game to pass this. And so hopefully you pay attention and enough to win. So then you find Tooty, and Tooty is now saved, and then she goes back home, and she goes home safely. And then you go to the final part of the layer, and then you go to Grunty's room. So then you unlock the final boss entrance. And once you have all the Jiggies, it will be enough to unlock the entrance. It unlocks it for you, and it leads you to the final boss. And you also have to collect the rest of the items. And you have to collect all of the items and get the extra stuff, and then you head to the final boss of the game. And now we're at the final boss of the game. The 8th boss is the final boss of the game. And the final boss of the game is Grunty. The final boss of the game is Grunty. And Grunty is a tough final boss, I'll give you that. And she is one hard boss, I can tell you that. And then you confront Grunty, and now you have to fight Grunty. Like as she's flying a broom, and Grunty throws fireballs at you, and then Grunty tries to throw electric balls at you, and then she also throws electric balls at you, and then she like tries to zap you, and Grunty throws fireballs at you, and makes sure you don't get hit by them, and then you have to shoot water at her and at a high angle, and dodge her attacks, and then you have to fly up and hit her, and you gotta hit her in the air, she's like trying to fly at her broomstick. And then finally, you see the Jinjo statues, and you have to shoot water at the Jinjo statue, and it unleashes a actual Jinjo that will help you, and the Jinjo flies up and attacks Grunty, and Grunty is damaged by it, and then there are more Jinjo statues appearing, and you basically have to do the same thing again, and more Jinjos go up in the air and shoot at Grunty, and hits Grunty, and she is hurt by it, and she's damaged by it, and then she gets beaten by them, and then she gets beaten once more a lot. And now, once you do that, all of the Jinjos are free, and then all of the Jinjos unleash the big Jinjo, and he's this special big Jinjo, and this Jinjo is like a god once you see his statue, and you have to come up to his statue and then shoot water at it, and it is awakened, and it is free, and then the godlike giant Jinjo attacks Grunty, and the giant Jinjo hits Grunty, and then Grunty gets hurt, damaged, being whatever, and she's beaten once and for all, and then she's beaten once more, and Grunty is damaged by this, and then Grunty finally gets defeated and destroyed. Grunty then falls to her death, she then falls to her doom, and then Grunty falls in the ground, and then Grunty hits the ground, and a pile of rocks fall on top of her, and then it shows that Grunty is still alive under those rocks, and she's still alive under them. That's kind of basically what happens. So then the game ends where Banjo and Kazooie and Tooty and Mumbo and Bottles are all celebrating at the beach. They're all hanging at the beach and spending time, and they're just relaxing. And they all know that the day is saved. So then you see Captain Blubber motor surfing. So then you see Captain Blubber driving his motorboat in the sunset. And then the game ends and closes at the sunset. And that's kind of the ending of the game. And that was the ending of the game. So then the game also ends where you still see Grunty buried under the rocks, but this time at night. And you also see Klungo trying to push the rocks away and help her out and revive her. And then Grunty says that she'll get her revenge and that she'll be back at Banjo-Tooie. And wow, already mentioning Banjo-Tooie. And then the game ends. And then it says the end, and it shows the end on the screen, and that was the ending of the game. So that was the ending of the game, and I like it how it hints at Banjo-Tooie at the end, and it's cool how they say Banjo-Tooie there. So that was the ending of the game. And then there was also Stop and Swap, and it's a special thing. It's something where you like switch Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie and you get a special move or cheat code from it. So then Mumbo introduces Stop and Swap, and he reveals these 6 mysterious eggs and an ice key. And I just like how Mumbo reveals that later in the ending of the game with these picture cards. And they're basically these 6 mysterious eggs and an ice key. And what you have to do is you have to find them in Banjo-Kazooie, but they're actually used for Banjo-Tooie. That's why it's called Stop and Swap, and you have to swap it with your cartridge. And you have to literally swap it with Banjo-Tooie with your cartridge. You gotta have Banjo-Kazooie in and then swap it with Banjo-Tooie later. And originally, it was going to take 10 seconds to swap it, but because of the hardware was at the time, it's hard to do that in the hardware and the technology they had, so that's why they reduced it to like 1 second instead. But in Banjo-Tooie, you get a special cheat code and a move from it. But luckily, in Banjo-Kazooie Live Arcade mode, and when it was in the Live Arcade, it actually was updated. You can now successfully get it. Now it works better. Now you can actually access the Stop and Swap better. So it's cool that we have it, and I think it's a cool concept of the game. So now you get the special cheat code, then you get the special move. And what is it? You get a dinosaur, pterodactyl, fire flame Kazooie. So then you get, like, I guess a Dragon Fireball Kazooie. Dragon Kazooie that shoots fire out of his mouth, that breathes fire, and that's Kazooie. So that's really cool. That's actually shockingly amazing and awesome. Like, wow, holy shit. Wow. I don't know what to say. Wow. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. So that's actually really cool to know. And so that's why Stop and Swap is really cool. I really like the idea of it. So I think Stop and Swap is a really cool idea, and I really do like the concept of Stop and Swap.
So that was Banjo-Kazooie, and I love this game. And I have so much nostalgia for this game, and this game is amazing, it's really great, and it's such a good game. So Banjo-Kazooie is a game that I love so much, and I have nostalgia for this game, and it's a really good game. So guys, I give Banjo-Kazooie an 8 out of 10. And Banjo-Kazooie deserves an 8 out of 10, and rightfully so. And Banjo-Kazooie is a great game, and it's one of the best games out there. And it's a really cool game that I highly recommend anyone who's interested in classic N64 games. And this game is a really awesome game. And I recommend anyone who's into the early days of Rareware and to see what Rareware was like on the N64. And if you're into platformers, get this game. And this game is a real fun platformer to play. And I really like this platformer. And if you really want to play a really good platformer, get this game. And so guys, that was my thoughts of Banjo-Kazooie. So guys, I'm Retro Critic, and I'm out. And I'll see you guys later. And I'll see you guys again. And I'll see you guys next time. And I'll see you guys around. And peace out. And bye.